Antoine is going to be crowned your WOR Season 10 champion.
And history's been made. Ballina, the first WOR PS4 champion. What a championship! What a season! Absolutely phenomenal!
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to WOR Season 11. We're at Imola tonight, and this has been a track where, on so many occasions, we have had something happen, whether it be the severe lows that we've seen on and some pretty decent highs as well. We take you back to 2004, where Jenson Button had an incredible pole lap here, his first ever in Formula One. Track was a little bit different than it is now, but we're not here about that, are we, Beacon? Welcome to yet another, what we I'm certain to be an enthralling week, and breaking news has occurred, I'm sure, and I'll let you head away with it.
Yes, absolutely. Good evening, everyone. I hope you've all been having a great Monday so far. But yes, we do have some breaking news in the sense that our championship leader by a mere 2 points, Shadow, is not participating in the race tonight, which means that a season where we have seen so many twists and turns in the championship battle, we are likely to see yet another, as Ron Hart only needs 2 points to overturn it. Well, actually, it would technically be 3 points to overturn the championship lead, because Shadow would win that one on countback. But yet again, we're in a situation where we are so likely to see a new championship leader coming out of this race, and at the moment, it looks like it's shaping up to go down to the wire.
I'm not 100% sure what happened there. Apologies for those on the screen, because you only had about a quarter of the screen. Everything else was outside of the...
Oh, yeah.
That's very, very odd, but it is back to normal now. Yeah, I mean, Shadow not being here, that is huge news. That 2 points is very, very slender. And by the end of the day, it could end up being 24. Obviously, if... everything goes Ron Ha's way, but there's a lot of drivers out here which will try and stop him, not because they want to help Shadow, they just want their points to themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone's going to be out there today trying to take every single point that they can get their hands on. And you know, for many, Shadow not being there for the majority of the grid means that they're going to pick up a couple of extra points. So, you know, they're going to try to make the most of it and capitalise on it for sure. As we've seen recently, Ronha, he hasn't had the greatest... Well, actually, I was about to say last two, but really last three races. He's had, what's that, 8th place, a 7th place, and then a 6th place. So he's, or 8th, 6th, and then 5th. So, you know, the momentum's sort of going the right way at the moment. He might be due a 4th or a 3rd, but, you know, he hasn't had the best time the last few weeks, and it's allowed Shadow to close down a pretty hefty championship lead and regain the championship lead in that matter. But, like we say, Ronha, very, very likely to retake the championship lead today. There's only been one race this season where Ronha has not scored more than 3 points. That was one DNF back in Silverstone. So, you know, I'd say it's pretty likely we're going to be leaving today with a new championship leader, which is pretty exciting. But out on track, everyone's on the soft tyres, aren't they?
Well, Chandler and
Apart
Clone Trooper.
from Clone, actually, yeah.
Oh, not Trooper, sorry, Clone Trooper. As
Yeah.
Dark Killer's cut across the line, he was a bit squiffy through 12 and into 13 there, so maybe a little bit more time for him to find. Viper is on track. Let's see what the McLaren driver can do through turn 7 there, famously for where Schumacher pushed Montoya out on that same 2004 Imola Grand Prix. But you can tell I know a fair amount about 2004 Formula 1 at the moment. Viper holding it steady at the moment, but that, I think, that turn 13 that we just seen Viper's going to gone through and into this sector here, or section, is going to be where drivers really can struggle.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of sections on this track as well where it is really easy to invalidate your lap. I was just riding on board with Chandler, and I think he's just done it. Which part of the track is it? I think it was through Piratelli. He's run wide on the exit and just invalidated his lap on those medium tyres. So it was shaping up to be an alright lap, but unfortunately that would be gone for him. But there's so many just quick corners on this track where I think we are going to see quite a few people invalidate their lap, especially in qualifying. It's going to be a real challenge. I think Matthew's just done that for himself as well.
So yeah, Matthew down 1:16.7, so 2 seconds slower than Viper there, and well, 2.6 away from Dark Killer as Shazoo Logic getting very, very curb happy then through turns 13, and he's managed to hold it nicely here, and it's purple in sector 2 if you believe the track map. It worked perfectly fine for me last night, so I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt so far. And Logic, obviously without his teammate, is definitely the driver to really, I think, with the momentum to take it to Ronha this week. But it's nice to see Dark Killer back as well, because I know he has some really, really solid pace as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, if he really hooks it up, he's right up there and can put in a brilliant performance. A bit hit and miss with him sometimes, but so far he's not doing too bad for himself. Placky puts himself up into P2, just under a 10th away from the Alpine driver. Looking around the rest of the grid, is anyone else improved? There's a lot of invalidated laps out there still. But we look around, it's hard to tell without the delta going on. Apparently it's a purple sector 2, that is, for Connor. So that's interesting. See if he can keep that pace up throughout the rest of this lap. He could be off a pretty good lap. He'll be hoping to be somewhere near WOR Alfie, who's just got himself up into P1 as well, and that's a 1:13.7, a whole 4 tenths clear of Dark. So there's a lot of work to be done now for everyone else on the grid. The benchmark has been set.
And obviously Square, who's invalidated, so I won't go on board with him. Well, I had done, but it was a mistake. Let's go back to Nico then, because he is going to start another lap. And tyre wear is not as severe as it could be around this track. Not as severe as other places. So, you know, we're not going to see the alternate strategy as used as much here, are we?
No, and the delta over the course of a lap between the soft and mediums is a little, but it's quite large. Basically, we don't tend to see drivers in this tier anyway. Such is how close this grid is, and at such a high level, it doesn't really happen that we get people on mediums starting inside top 10 anyway. But clearly, no one even fancying giving it a go today, because the advantage of being on the soft is quite hefty here. We're talking a couple more tenths than normal for sure. Nico hooking up his lap so well, pretty well so far. I do like watching this track. It just, the undulations is absolutely brilliant to see, and then the curves as well, how well the cars can ride them.
it's a nice flowing track. It's one that when I'm able to get on it is one to go myself. But Nico, like you said, he's holding it up pretty well at the moment as he comes through this turn 17 and 18 sector. That's I really quite like that little, just it's like the Lesmos but the other way round. Really nice through it, but Nico's not able to do too much. Only a 14.8, so nearly over a second away from Alfie at the moment.
Yeah, it's not a fantastic lap for Nico. He'll be looking to improve. But obviously, slightly more worn tyres after giving it a go first time. Square's giving it another go, potentially. He has got flashing fuel lights. I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to see what his ERS usage is like. On the exit corner, it's draining quite a bit. So I think Square might be giving this a go. He's going to try to round off lap anyway. Apparently, it's a purple sector 2 as well. So Square really attacking the chicane there. This could be a pretty decent lap. We've got to see. He's only got a couple more corners to navigate now as the Ferrari gets out the way of Chile. No real braking marker on the right-hand side, so it's quite difficult to tell when to brake for this part of the track. But Square having absolutely no issue negotiating that part of the track as he comes up across the line, and Square puts himself up by 3/1000ths of a second onto provisional pole.
Great time that by Square, but well, both him and Alfie have used those tyres a little bit more than some of the others on the track. What can Chandler do? He goes P3. Nice little lap from him on fresh rubber as well. So good one for Chandler there. Let's see. Dark Killer is out on track. He's just about to start his lap time. So let's see what Killer can do. Coming back into this, and he invalidates. So we'll forget about that one. Sorry, Darks. Let's go on board with Critch, the Williams driver this week, and popping through into sector 3. Trying to be nice and tight to those apexes, but it's a little bit wide through turn 18.
A little bit of unsteer and invalidated for good measure. So into the pit lane, he does go. Yeah, just slightly missed. Just slightly missed the apex there, ran wide on the exit. Thought, yeah, you know what, I'm going to come into the pits instead. Logic through sector 1, improving by just under a tenth. So this is a lap that could potentially put him around Got to Go Fast or Critch. If he can just find a couple more hundredths through the lap, we'll have to see, though. It's only sector 1. If he keeps on that sort of pace, he could well be up into the top 5. So let's see what he can pull out in the rest of the lap as well. As Logic, I don't think there's anyone else really improving out there at the moment. I can't see anyone, so I think it is Logic who is 3/10 up now. So this could be a brilliant lap for Logic. Potentially putting himself up there with Dark, and that is that was who was that? Was that Agonized getting onto the grass to get out the way? Logic very much trusting him there to stay well off the line and putting a little bit of a squeeze on, but Logic nonetheless in the run up now to the line. He crosses, and it actually gets him up into P5 with 14.0. So potentially in his last run, we could see him dip into the 113s. So that's not a bad lap at all.
Not at all, and I've just gone on clone, and he's not actually going any quicker. Back to Placky then, and he coming through sector 1 now. So let's see what he can do in the first sector. He's up on his time, only just though, 0.001 quicker. So he's got to find a little bit more in the second and third sector to do anything great. And is that Matthew retiring?
Yes, apparently there is a restart. That is what is happening here. We're seeing. Apparently, Choco wanted to get the message across to Critch by ramming into him by the looks of it. So I think that's what's happening because Tribbian is not in the lobby. He should be racing today, and someone has taken his car. So we could potentially be seeing Square. I don't know, being kicked out of the session. I don't really know where this goes.
I guess just a little bit more time to talk about the whole. Driver standings and how it all pops through. And also, some of these drivers have been able to have a little first-hand taste at the standards of what they have to produce. Okay, this is only early doors. As there's Choco going off. There's 6 minutes left of qualifying. They've had a fair whack of qualifying to get going. And
yeah, absolutely. You get your eye in a little bit more with a couple of extra laps, and maybe just iron out the mistakes where we've seen invalidations before. But equally, you can get to a stage where you're thinking, "Oh, it's okay. I've done this before. Maybe I'm just going to push a little bit harder." And sometimes that doesn't quite work. So we could it could go either way here. We're either going to have some absolutely rapid lap times at the end or loads more invalidations.
Yeah, definitely right through all that as I'm just randomly going on to drivers just to see what they can see how close it is for them. The host is finally migrating, so yeah, they're pushing that little bit extra, which could cause problems. And you can see I've just gone on board with Got to Go Fast through turn number 15 there, and you can cut an awful lot of that corner. I wonder how many people will try that, but obviously if you cut too much, then it becomes a little bit more of a problem. Corner cutting territory definitely in the books, and we've already seen a few people had their time restarted, haven't we?
Yeah, so I'm just sort of reading the chat to see. So apparently it'll be Clone that doesn't get to race. So we'll see Square racing. That seems to be what I'm reading so far. So it seems like Clone has lost his chance to race. And Square apparently has ticked the wrong box on the sign up somewhere, or says he's ticked it. To be fair, so I don't know if that's just an issue with the sign up sheet itself or what. But okay, so apparently 30 minutes light rain and 45 minutes dry, and the beginning on wets. So we could be having a pretty interesting race, and that probably explains why we saw so many drivers not even giving the medium tires a go.
Yeah, and also the amount of tyres that they were usage that they were putting on their tyres as well. They weren't caring as much, and yeah, interesting nonetheless. A little bit of rain just to spice things up a little bit is always nice.
Yeah,
I mean, obviously we've had a fair whack of qualifying. We're going to do a little bit more. Chat, hit us up with who you think is going to do from what get polled from what you've seen. Bradley, yourself as well. Who do you think is going to get through this one?
I mean, Square's shown some fantastic pace so far. So if you can keep that up in our next qualifying session, then that'll be interesting as well. But of course, it's going to depend on. It's going to depend on as well who's pretty comfortable in the wet. I mean, that's going to come down to it quite a lot. I don't know. I mean, a wet start at Imola, could we be seeing? We're not going to quite see the two championship leaders facing off as we fly down into the first chicane, but potentially we could definitely see the first two leaders and get a little bit of a repeat of what happened in real life. So apparently it's going to be first is heavy rain, light rain, and then dry. So we're actually going to see a full wet start by the sounds of it, to intermediates, then to dry. So if that is the case, then I think we're going to be in for a pretty interesting race, because it's going to come down to who decides to pit at the right time. And that's going to be probably the most important factor in this whole race.
Yeah, anything is, weather can be such a... Well, it's obviously interchangeable, so it's... Yeah, you're exactly right. If you pit at the right time, and that's completely down, obviously, in this title fight, down to one man, and that is Ronha. If he times everything right today, I think he might take the victory.
Yeah, it seems to be. And yeah, all the drivers correctly pointed out already, wet enters dry. That's I think everyone's good for that so far. It goes very wet, like cloud. That seems to be it. We're getting told to ready up. I might have just not even been looking at my Xbox. Well, no, have you been invited, or have...
I just joined.
Ah, right, okay. I was going to say, people are saying ready up. I'm like, hang on a second.
Apologies, I probably should have invited you in.
That's all right.
Yeah, no, I was getting myself all too into it. Just looking at the drivers pop into the, nothing special. But I was just like, oh, names just popping up. We've obviously got all 20 now. Just waiting for your good self to pop into this. And this is obviously a 19-corner circuit. But some of these corners don't feel like true corners. So then they're not going to be as hard a wearing on the tyres. So are we going to see a little bit of that in... the racer, the obviously we've already spoken about tyres going that little bit longer. It's not as demanding on the tyres. No. But obviously with the wets, do you think some people are going to push these wets to the dry stage?
Potentially. The question is going to be is how long is this intermediate period in between? If it's too long, then your wet tires are just going to start overheating, and they're not going to be too useful at all. We might see some people try to just extend the wet tires till the dry period. It's definitely possible. And if we go heavy to dry, heavy rain to dry in the setup, then actually the intermediate period could be quite short, talking only, let's say, 5 laps or so, which, okay, yeah, is quite a bit in racing, but maybe not enough to counteract a whole pit stop.
And I think, that could be, all said and done, quite vital. But it could also help someone, say, who's had an incident. They're right on the cusp, change the front wing, right on the cusp of the intermediate wet, gone in, changed it, got that extra pace, and it could bring them back into it. Or if the interchangeable condition is under a safety car. Now, we've barely spoken about safety car at this race so far.
Yeah.
And that it is a big possibility. We could see a safety car here. And I think we might do. I'm not saying anyone's going to crash off on purpose, but it's just got that, I don't know, because it's Ron Ha has so much to lose with Shadow not being here.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's going to be pretty exciting because Ron Ha, he needs to capitalize as much as possible, but also make sure that he actually is able to regain the championship lead. Of course, that's the most important thing. He wants every single point that he can get because, of course, every single one of them is going to help. We could easily come to the last race of the season with them only separated by 2 points like we have now. So it's really important for Ron Ha to do as well as possible today, but also it's really, really probably more important to just make sure that he's able to score a solid amount of points to put him a decent margin ahead coming into the last 2 races. He'll definitely want to be at least 16, 20 points ahead, which at the moment is only really possible with a win or P2. So, it's going to be really interesting, and I think this race could actually shape us up for a brilliant last 2 races after this, because we could have a situation a bit like we've got in real life actually, where the driver in second is slowly closing in on the leader. It could all get a little bit tasty. We've seen them actually collide on track several times this season already, so who's to say that when we come to the last race that's not completely off the table, I imagine.
Now, I pose a question to you. If Ron Ha wins with the fastest lap, obviously that's 24 points, a swing to Ron Ha in the championship. He's leading the way. Is he going to win the championship with that?
That's a good question.
Talk about putting you on the spot, eh?
Yes. I don't know. I honestly can't even begin to guess with this. It's just been an absolutely crazy season, and I don't think we can even begin to predict what's going to happen in this race, to be fair.
Especially with Shadow's out-and-out pace so far. I think, he not Shadow, sorry, Square. Shadow's not even here. So his pace, we're never going to know. But, Square's out-and-out pace so far seems good. Dark Killer's put some good times in as well. We haven't really seen the best of Alfie, I don't think. So a lot of drivers through there. I'm missing a few, so I apologise. But there's a few drivers out there I think might still surprise us. I think that extra couple of minutes, 10 minutes or so, is going to help Dark Killers. And I'm going to say quite early on that I think Dark Killer could very well get pole here. I think, I don't usually like doing a prediction this early, but we've had that extra time, I suppose. 15 minutes left to qualify. Who do you think?
I don't know. I think Square looked really, really strong in that first, let's say, practice qualifying that we got. But it really could go either way. Alfie as well, very much a shout. But equally, again, what you were sort of saying with the championship before, Square, yeah, he's 51 points off at the moment, but he deserves to be so much closer. There's been so many races where just bad luck or mistakes have just got in his way, and he's lost out so many points. To an extent, you have to feel for him, because like he really does deserve to be in the championship fight, but I think might just be a little bit too far off because of his misfortunes earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, if Ronha wasn't here today, he could really close that gap, couldn't he? But it's not the case. Square going fastest of all, only just from Placky. Tribion setting a good lap time through there as well, but I am on board with Ronha as he runs through Sector 3, through 16 and into 17, taking nice and tight through there. And Ronha's got a lot of work to do. There's a Ferrari retiring on track, so he's got a problem there. But what can Ronha do? Across the line, it's pole by some distance from Square.
Yeah, it's not quite the 13.7 that we saw a little bit earlier on, so there's definitely still some time out there at the moment, but that is a really strong banker lap. Obviously, that 0.7 was set on their second run as well. So Ronha definitely bursting out the blocks in this qualifying session, this time round at least. So he's a pretty strong. Oh, there's a spinning Choco there as well on his run, so he's not going to improve on that 1:39 for the moment. He'll, I think he might have a little bit of pace on that lap as the session goes on. He might just be able to improve. Chandler has validated his out lap, so he's giving it another go. And looking around as well, Logic running up to the line, I believe, or just starting off a lap. I think he's just starting a lap. But yeah, at the moment it's shaping up to be pretty exciting because, as we saw with Ronha, he wasn't doing fantastically well in the first session. Anyone can just sort of pop up with a lap time, and that's the last time I ride on board with Ronha. He's just got stuck on the curb, got a bit of wheel spin, and nearly basically just careered into the wall.
WOR Matthew, 14.002.
He was right up
very
there.
solid lap.
Yeah, absolutely. He was right up there in the first qualifying session that we did. So yeah, I think he's definitely in for a good quality today. Got to go fast as well. That's not a bad lap at all, of 14.1, especially for the first run. Looking around, anyone else in the run up to the line? Logic is just about finishing off his lap. He's also got a Alpine right behind him of Alfie. Alfie apparently has gone purple in Sector 2 as well. So, Alfie looked strong in the qualifying session that was suspended. But let's see Logic as he runs up to the line, what he can do. Followed by Alfie right behind Logic. Goes all the way up into P5 actually. But Alfie surely about to beat it. He does. And he beats Got to Go Fast by 1,000th of a second as well.
What a crazy lap time that was. Agonized is on a lap, or just starting his lap. I don't think many other drivers will be really pushing on those 2 laps. But we have seen, I think, was it Square who did 3 laps on his softs to get provisional pole in the disqualified qualifying session. So it is possible for some of these guys just to push as far as they can go and get as much.
Ooh, apparently agonized purple Sector 1. That's an interesting one. Let's see if Agonize can put in a bit of a shock, sort of seen him progress over the last year or so, especially coming onto this game. This could be, of course, now moving to the Team WOR, but he's missed the Apex end run a little bit wide, but he's actually been able to carry quite a lot of minimum speed through the corner. So let's see if it's actually affecting too much. 49.7. It's not fantastic, and has the validation anyway, and well off wide at the exit. So maybe the pressure of quick out the blocks has not helped him too much as that lap has gone on. So Agonize will have to wait just a couple more minutes to get a run in.
Yeah, a few going through. I think Blackie here is going for another lap as he takes a lot of grass at the exit of turn 3 then, but enough to get himself through. He's looking pretty solid on this early doors, and there he goes, invalidates complete.
It's so easy to do here. That's the issue.
It certainly is. That is so many opportunities to do it here. We've seen it through 17 and 18. The exit of that bit. Exit of 6, I think in the exit of 3, obviously this actually I'm not gonna go through every corner because it is pointless. But Square, whereabouts is he? I know there's a few on outlaps right now, and I think one of them could very well be Viper. He's way back, so it's his teammate that's doing a lap on those softs now, even though it's telling me he's on mediums. But let's see what.
Oh, Chandler comes in. There we go. Of course he does. But yeah, it'll be interesting what Chandler can do, because he put in a absolutely brilliant lap in the first qualifying session. Placky coming into the pit lane as well, which is interesting. So a lot of drivers maybe invalidating their laps this time and just thinking, you know what, I'm just going to come straight back in again. We still have 9 minutes remaining, so if you come in now, you're definitely going to get another 2 runs in. No doubt! Oh, and that was close from Trivian. That was a mega save. He backs out the lap, obviously, but wow, he went well off the track, and those curbs really just throwing his car about, and very, very lucky to not end up with his car on the wall there.
Oh, I missed that one. That would have been nice to see a save like that, but there's loads of cars out on track, aren't there?
Oh, Connor, purple sector 1 apparently. So this could be a good lap for Connor. We'll have to see how this lap unfolds.
Obviously, his teammate Critch is currently in 7th place, so holding the board quite nicely, but there's 4 tenths between the two of them. But Connor doing quite well at the moment.
Invalid.
Too much invalidating on that one.
Every time we see someone go purple sector 1, it's the curse. They invalidate it a little bit later on in the lap, and it's oh so easy to do. Viper's actually down on his time, so he won't be improved by the looks of it. Sparks is just invalidated his lap time after going purple sector 1. So no shock there. Ron has invalidated his lap as well. Matthew's giving it a good go. I can't see his delta from sector 1, but in sector 2 he's doing pretty well so far. I'm actually going to go on the race director quickly to check that, because see if this works. Yeah, he's actually gone a little bit up. So he's currently just 7 thousandths up on his lap. WR Matthew. He's currently only got to improve by 200ths to put himself into P1. He's actually backed off the lap, has he? Yeah, he has. He's backed off the lap here.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a shock if he was up as well.
Maybe a bit of understeer somewhere, just losing the line, losing a bit of momentum through the corner. I don't really know. That one's really improving, actually. Oh, Square's a little bit up. Oh, no, he's starting his lap. Okay, no, he is up. He is. Okay, right, it was lying to me. That's fantastic. So Square puts himself up into P6 with a slight improvement of 800ths from his last lap. Logic is actually a 10th up, I think, through Sector 1 alone. So this could be a pretty decent lap for the Alfa Romeo driver. And he doesn't invalidate. So, yeah, he's currently in good stead.
Got to go fast, also purple in Sector 1. So he's up in Sector 2, but it's not purple, Logic. So we'll go on board with the Alpha driver. Obviously, possibly one of the ones to really bring it to Ronha this weekend. And let's see if he can hold through this final sector well. He nearly invalidates through there, like we saw Lando Norris do, to get his lap time invalidated. But Logic going down the start-finish straight, it's only P5 for him.
Yeah, and he didn't gain a lot in the final sector. He lost a lot of time there, really.
Frustrating for him. Let's go board with Placky. What can he do? I'm going to hope that he's doing some speed through this as we see him run through the final parts of Sector 1 across the line. He's down on his lap time, so it's probably not going to go any quicker for him. It's still telling me Chandler's on mediums.
He is on the soft. I had that issue earlier on because I thought everyone was on the soft tire, but he was on the medium, so I've absolutely no idea what's happened there. But Matthew's actually just gone P1 by 300ths of a second ahead of Ronha. So there we go. Matthew laying down the gauntlet and wanting to pick up a pole, but Ronha improves and goes just under a 10th ahead. Let's see what Chandler can do in a run up to the line. He goes up into P4 for 114.1. So Chandler keeping up good qualifying form in his first race of the season. He's been a reserve all year, so good to see him finally get a go. School permitting as the American driver.
Well, we did miss WR Wilson go P3 in all of that as well. So nice little time from him coming through. Oh, Agonised, is that Agonised coming out on a... Is he on a lap? He's invalidated. Clenzo coming through. Ooh, massive, nearly back ends. Well saved from the Mercedes driver in the end then. It's all quieted down, I think.
Clenzo has an interesting goal in this race. I saw him tweet earlier. He's currently using new pedals, so still trying to get used to them. His goal, very ambitious for this race, is to finish. So we'll have to see if we can take him up on that task later on. He'll be hoping so.
Well, it could very well end up, and just imagine if he goes away and wins this one. Across the line for Sparks.
Those are pedals all along.
Sparks
Chandler validating. Yeah.
Let's see how he handles this one. He's got the number 2 on his car, on his Haas car, so obviously he's wanting to, emulate some top drivers who've had that number 2 on their cars. Obviously, they've... he's invalidated as well. I really need to stop this.
Yeah, we can't. We just have to stop watching the cars because they're invalidating everywhere at the moment. All the ones that we choose to watch. No, but Sparks has been working his way through the teams this season, hasn't he? So far. This must be what, the 3rd or 4th car he's been in this season. I'm not entirely sure because, of course, he spent the first bunch of season in the Alfa Romeo, but then has come back as a reserve recently in a couple of different teams. So he's probably got the record this year at least. Looking around, is Alfie doing anything too special at the moment? No, he's invalidated his lap, but that could... It's not a warm-up lap. He has actually invalidated his lap as well as he drives onto the grass to get out the way for a couple of other drivers. But yeah, looking around, we're about to start all of these final runs.
So Tribion could very well be the first driver to set the final run. What can he do? He's currently 13th. It's unlucky for some. But he's got a chance to get himself up a little bit higher up the grid. I think that's Viper and Chandler just coming out of the pits as well, and the House of Placky coming through. But Tribion should have clear air coming through all of this part of the sector. He's only got his teammate up ahead. We know slipstream is not permitted, but he could get a cheeky little toe if he times this lap right as he tries to catch up coming up the hill through this. And
Dark, no. Dark was doing a great run, but he's just invalidated again. It's so easy to do with these curbs.
It is, and we've seen it so much, maybe more on this run, on this second qualifying, I suppose you could call it, that we've seen in any other point. And that's quite good little corner set up there for Tribion. He's able to hold and take as much of the curb as possible without losing too much ground. As he coming through the final part of the lap now and up the start-finish straight. He goes a little bit wide on the curb, but doesn't invalidate. Where can Tribion go? He doesn't improve. Or he does, just not enough.
Just marginally. Yeah, he was lucky to get away at the start of his lap. It looked like he cut the first chicane basically right on the limit. So a little bit lucky there. I think a millimetre. Well, actually, we'll call it precision instead of luck. But very, very close to being validated. Logic, I think, is on a decent run at the moment. He's one of the furthest forward of the front runners, the people in the ones in the 14.1s at least. So let's see what he can do. He doesn't invalidate his lap on the exit as we climb the hill. So now we've just got Lotta, apparently purple sector 2, and he's 2/10 up. So for Logic, could this be the lap? It's not a brilliant run through the chicane, losing the rear end just a little bit on the curbs, but he's still continuing. Let's see now as we come into the final corner. He's got to get a great exit, not running wide, just not touching the inside curb because that cannot unsettle the car. Now he's got the run up to the line. Logic puts himself, up into P2 and just 0.02 off of Ronhart and a potential pole position.
Who is so close to doing it. Alfie's on
wow, big crash for Critch. Massive crash for Critch. I just went on board with Critch and his car was in the air. So he has had a very hefty hit against the wall, and that will be that lap well over.
Well, I didn't get to it in time from Nico's point of view. There goes Agonized retiring from the session. Is that on track? No, it's in the pit lane, so that's not too bad. I wonder if we can nip on board with someone who's just about to finish their lap. Is that WR Matthew going to come across the line very slidey through the second to last corner? He desperately wants pole, but I don't think it's going to be enough. Look how close that is. He's displaced Logic again. Ronhar goes faster, even faster.
That's a brilliant lap from Ron Harley. Gives it a little weave as well. He's very happy with that one. And he knows in this race where he has to try to gain every single point on Shadow, the driver who's currently leading the championship by 2 points, but not here today. Ronhar currently sits P2, and like I said, 2 points behind. He needs every single point he can get to lead into these last 2 races after today.
So many drivers have invalidated. I'm desperately trying to find one. Tribion has done. He's up 1/10 or 1.5 on his previous lap time. It might push him up the board a little bit. Across into Sector 2. His teammate darts out of the way. This could very well be a decent lap time for the AlphaTauri. You can see how dirty the cars get from this track, apparently. But across the second to last corner, where will Tribion finish? He's got a lap into him, and it's P6 for Tribion.
Wow.
What a lap for the AlphaTauri driver, displacing a lot of drivers there. So fair play to him. Chandler coming through, a very, very big wiggle there, but that might be enough to see him go higher.
Not quite.
Does not.
He gained half a tenth in the final sector. He was a tenth down, ended at half tenth down. So there's definitely some time in that lap, but not able to get it. Wilson invalidating the final corner, just for good measure, and actually did lose him out on what would have been P6, just above Tribion. So he would have been able to get right back past, but invalidated right at the dead. And I believe that's it. Let's see what Choco's definitely not on a lap at that speed. So yeah, there we go. Ronha with a pretty dominant pole.
Yeah, it looked. Unfortunately, I might have put poor Dark Killer. I said he was going to do really well, and he's down in 10th place. He might be cursing me a little bit at the moment. Viper down in 11th as well. But Ronha showing exactly why he needs to, showing exactly what he needs to do at this stage of the weekend, I suppose, or the race weekend, or the event. He's done everything he needed to do. He's on pole position with WOR Matthew. A little bit of a shock in second place. Logic in third with Alfie in fourth. Third row of the grid looks like Critch and Tribion there. Wilson in seventh with Chandler in eighth. Got to go fast in ninth, and Dark Killer rounding out the top 10. In 11th place is Viper with Sparks alongside him. Palenzo in 13th. Square in 14th. Nico in 15th with Placky getting 16th. Choco in 17th and 18th to Connor. Chili and Agonize weren't able to set a lap time. Agonize desperately, agonisingly close to setting a lap time, but it wasn't to be. And Chili retired quite early on. So crazy, crazy stuff in qualifying so far. And I mean, I know we had two bites of the cherry for this one, but quite enjoyable qualifying, really, just to see how these guys took to the pressure.
Yeah, I think really interesting to note as well, it was only 2,000th in the end between second and third. So that's the difference between a front row start and not. But in the wet, it's going to be interesting because we are going to be starting on full wet tyres. So, I mean, anything could happen now. This could be quite exciting. Let's just say as we run down into the first real corner, which I believe is actually turn 2, isn't it? Yes, it is, through the Variante Tamburello. So yeah, this could be quite a good race. It should be wets to inters to dries, but it should be quite a quick transition between the wets and dries. So potentially someone's going to give it a go to try to stretch the wets out, but I don't think so. Maybe someone might try, but I'm not entirely sure it'll be the quicker option.
Sounds like a Viper move, that, just to get yourself up a little bit higher. However, chat, give us a shout on who you think is going to take victory here. Obviously, Ronha on pole. And these guys, I wonder how many of these guys went for more of a dry setup. Obviously exactly. They wanted to get the track position. But how long does this wet last for?
Quite a long time. I think it's the first 2 blocks, so we're looking at probably just over half race distance. It's going to be wet, so could be interesting. Who's to say that Ronha, he was on pole by so far because he's on a more dry setup? Who knows?
Also, I've seen it plenty of times before that those 2 blocks for wet can last the whole race. It's a Codemaster's way. But 20 seconds until lights out for formation lap. These guys, it's crucial, this formation lap, to get your eye in on the wet tyres. Because, these guys they've just done 2 lots of qualifying pretty much on dry. This is the first time they're going to drive in anger in the wet tonight.
Yeah, this is going to be pretty exciting because we have got a long run down into, turn 2, but the first heavy braking zone as we enter the chicane. So who's going to be out in front? Because in the wet, the starts can be, they are slightly trickier. So anything could happen here. I'm going to definitely on the start keep an eye on the position change because I'm expecting a mare from somebody and potentially something just a little bit special from someone else.
Anything is possible. And is that Alfie spinning under formation lap? That is not ideal for the Alpine driver. How he didn't get disqualified from the session is beyond me. He clattered the wall, but he's still there. I say from the session, from the formation lap. So he's just going to have to set himself up a little bit and be a bit calmer with the throttle.
Well,
he's going to win.
He knows the limit now.
Who's gonna win?
Oh god, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? You know what? I'm gonna go with Logic today. He just looks so assured at the moment. Oh, and Alfie! I can't ride on board with Alfie when we get into this race. That car is so loose through these corners when he's going quick in the wet. It just has no grip at all. But I'm gonna go with Logic just because I want him to. Really, that's it. Really.
There was gotta go fast in the wall as well. It's definitely something that seems like it's going to be an occurrence here tonight in the wet conditions. These guys, it's more of a race of attrition. Just make sure you keep going, don't lose a front wing, and something special might happen. We've seen something special in China, I believe it was, where we had a little bit of interchangeable weather, if I remember rightly, and Bartak took victory in the McLaren. Anything is possible, and it generally...
Austria?
WOR has this crazy stats to it, and I think it's going to go down to the wire in the championship, even though there is no shadow. We got 32 laps of Imola, and they're just about to get started. We're waiting for a few of the drivers to get to the grid, so I started my beginning speech a little bit too early. Keep it up in the chat if you with what you think. There's a tyre situation as I've seen in the chat, but I will go back to positional. It is full wets. Ronha and Matthew on the front row of the grid, with Logic probably going to try and jump Ronha. That's his plan, to help his teammate out who's not here this week. But we're on 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights here at Imola. And it's away we go, finally, and it looks like a little bit of a poor start from a few drivers. They're just not able to get the traction. Logic has had a great one trying to attack Matthew from the offset, but I don't think it's going to happen. Matthew is trying to attack the Red Bull. It's like the real life Imola with Mercedes and Red Bull, and I think Matthew's in a world of trouble.
That was absolutely fantastic from Critch. Matthew and Logic just struggling, of course, battling with Ron Hart, and Critch has just taken the ideal line. Got right past. What's happened there?
Matthew and Alfie collecting each other. Matthew way back down, and there's a Haas really losing traction behind. And I don't think it was Alfie that caught Matthew, but you know, that's what it was at the end. And Alfie's dropped down the order. 3 places gone, but Matthew down 11.
Yeah, it's not been an ideal start for Matthew, of course, fighting down into turn 2, but not able to get done there. But yeah, whatever happened there? Now we have the 2 McLarens fighting Viper around the outside of Chandler, getting the move done, but he's got a little bit deep into the corner. Could this allow Chandler to make the move? As Speaker going deep into the corner, got to go fast, has made an absolute mare of it. What's going on there as well with Square?
Oh, I just seen a spinning AlphaTauri in the background, and it's got me gasping for air, and I think that's Colenso struggling there, or is that... I think, definitely Colenso going off the track a little bit. These guys are really struggling with the wet weather. Dark Killer's been caught out, I think, now by Viper. Viper's up 3 places. He's doing a cracking job. Ronha is just running away from Critch, and Critch, likewise, is running away from Logic. Critch has got some incredible pace in the wet.
Yeah, absolutely. Critch just seemed to have so much grip through the chicane. It was absolutely crazy. He just drove past Matthew and Logic. Of course, Logic being slightly more successful than Matthew is at the moment, but Matthew nonetheless is going to try to fight back. Chandler's right on the back of Sparks. Chandler's actually dropped quite a few places. I think he might have made a bit of a mistake since his battle with his teammates. It's all going on at the moment. Tribune trying to put Logic and Wilson under a bit of pressure as well.
Nice there for Tribune. We haven't seen him go as consistent as we would hope, but here comes Viper up the inside. I've got to go fast. Viper, where has this been all season? Into 7th place. Maybe he likes the wet. He's doing phenomenal at the moment. WR Alfie now all over the back of Tribune, trying to get one of those positions back that he's lost, and he has finally made the move. And just ahead of him, Wilson and Logic were going hammer and tongs as well, but it has dropped a little bit. I don't really want to look at all those cars going wide at turn 15 there. That is not what you want to see for some of these drivers. They are struggling in these wet conditions. Wilson are trying to attack Logic, but crucially, Critch has found a little bit more pace and he's pulling or drawing Ron Har back in.
Yeah, absolutely. He's closing about 7/10 on that lap. So Critch really piling on the pressure. Maybe this time next lap he could be right on the back of Ronhar. This could be interesting. Critch he's absolutely got the pace in the wet. Same with Viper really. They both look pretty strong at the moment. Got to go fast. Still trying to put pressure on the Viper, but big lockup allows Dark to go side by side. Got to go fast. Actually in the gravel, he loses out to Sparks and then Chandler as well. So got to go fast. It's starting pretty well so far this race, but he's just lost 3 places now.
Such a shame for the Ferrari driver. The Ferrari curse has hit again. Ronhar seems to have the better of Critch in that first sector. Viper pulling away a little bit, but Killer doesn't want him to go too far ahead. Let's go back on board with Alfie as he's desperate to get back at this Red Bull of WR Wilson. That start for Alfie was terrible, but he's starting to get everything back and ready.
Yeah, composure may be returning in that Alpine. Carrying a lot more speed than Wilson through the corner. There's a yellow flag, got to go faster. Ferrari cursed back and back strongly. He is falling right to the back of the order. And it started so well, but forgot to go fast. It has all fallen away in the blink of an eye in 2 separate incidents over the course of the same lap.
That's not ideal at all.
Again.
Ron Hart, I think it's going to be like this all race long between the two of them. Critch, it's great to see him doing so well. Wilson having to thinking about an attack on Logic, but also think about that Alpine behind. He gets very close. And look at Alfie, surely not. Alfie was having a look at that Red Bull. I wonder if he'll have a go down into the next part of the track, but still just behind. I think Logic is struggling a little bit more than these two.
He's got... Oh, no, for a second I thought Alfie was going to get a great exit and maybe think about sending up the side. Logic's got a little bit deep here, actually, but that could allow him to just get a slingshot and keep him a little bit safe down this relatively short straight, but not bad. And look at this at the moment. Critch and Ronhart absolutely running away with it out front. Those two... not doing too badly for themselves, let's say, at the moment. Logic just maybe not quite got the pace in the wet at the moment, but to be fair to him, he has been battling the cars behind quite a bit, so maybe he's got his eyes behind him a little more than forwards. Alfie just really piling on the pressure to the Red Bull in front. Trippion's there or thereabouts, and Viper's closed in a second on Trippion in the last lap. Lap and a half or so. So, you know, we could be seeing Viper moving up into P6.
Ron Hart picks up a 3-second time penalty this early on, and that could creep crucial at the end. And look how close Wilson and Alfie are pushing Logic around. Logic has made a mistake. Is that going to be moment for Wilson to take third place on lap number 5, or is it still too early? He's been pushed onto the grass.
Oh, that's a little bit dodgy potentially, but look at that Alfie trying about to go up the inside there, but I think he broke maybe even a little bit too early. Wilson and Logic both the late breakers there. Alfie, he did actually have the inside line, but maybe he thought that Wilson was going to send a dive to the inside, didn't want to be involved. Dark! Wow! Sparks is, he's in the wall, facing the wrong way and doing a 360. So Sparks, very much not done too well there, and that is absolutely no front wing at all left on that Haas.
A square had a moment as well.
We have full safety car. Yeah, maybe the combination of those two moments bringing out the safety car then.
And this could, got to go fast, had an absolute mare, but he's back in now. He's got to get to the end of this, obviously, this train. But this is what I was saying at the start. If it starts going to intermediate tyres at the end of the safety car, does someone take the risk?
Potentially. I think for the moment it's still wet, but it's definitely nowhere near as heavy as we saw at the start of the race. So, I think we're a little bit away from the crossover point to the intermediates, but definitely a few more laps out there, and we're going to be in that. It's going to start coming into the driver's mind to give it a go. We'll have to see for sure. I'm sure under safety car, someone may give it a go. Potentially, it depends really what they're Jeff shouting at them.
And here comes a few people popping into the pits. Is that green wall tyres?
I imagine it will be.
people are taking the risk this early. Alfie, not one of them. He's going to stick it out. Let's go to the tyre changes then and see how many people do it. Viper stays on wets. Tribion stays on wet. Killer stays on wet. That's interesting to see both Alpines sticking to the same strategy. Connor, Matthew, both on wets as well.
This could get really, really interesting. If these wet runners try to stay out until the crossover period, obviously they're going to lose a lot of time, but potentially there's a remote chance they could still be ahead of a couple of the intermediate runners, but it's a long, long way to go. And at the moment, I wouldn't say it's clearly the intermediate pace. Obviously, it's hard to tell at the moment because, well, we're under safety car. It's been neutralised at the moment. So that'll be fun to see when we get going again. Is it the right time for those intermediates? I think it's definitely getting there. Maybe a lap or two.
I think it's going to be a few laps under safety car in the wets, and then the inters are going to really come into play. Into the pits then, got to go fast. Everyone really, obviously, from P8 downwards, and I think got to go fast is going for inters as well. Sparks is back into the session. But I think everyone's willing to take that risk. But if it goes badly, if we do see, it's wet weather until lap 15, 16, these full wet runners have made an absolute golden choice to stay on the wets. They could be out of the way of these intermediate runners by lap 10, 11, providing when the safety car comes in. And this is the beauty of interchangeable weather. You never know what is going to happen.
Yeah. And that's what we love to see. It was great in real life in Qatar. Whenever you have a marginal strategy, it makes it absolutely great because some people are going to get it wrong, and that just adds a little bit of drama. But here we go. We see the wet runners, some of them coming into the pit lane now. But interestingly, Matthew, Dark, and Viper still hanging it out on the wet tyres.
Interesting, really, considering everyone else has done it. I mean, Viper leads the way now. This is, I think, the first time in Season 11 Viper leads a WOR race. So interesting from the McLaren point of view. But, these guys, have they made a mistake? Dark Killer and Matthew and Viper obviously thinking wets can last them a little bit longer. And, if they have made the right choice, instead of it being 8 drivers or 7 drivers that have made a really, really solid tactical choice, it's only down to 3.
Yeah, it is. This is, I mean, it's interesting because you can visibly see it's a lot lighter, the clouds now. It's nowhere near as dense as it was before. So, yeah, this is an interesting one. We'll have to see how these wets perform for a couple of laps. They'll be hoping for a bit of chaos behind and maybe another safety car. Maybe they can keep a couple of places, but this is gonna be pretty rough.
I have seen time and time again Viper's safety car restarts. He hogs the whole track, and I'm really interested to see how he does it here. He's not as slow as some of the other cars. I wonder if the safety car is in this lap. We'll wait for the message to pop up.
Yeah, lights are still on for the moment, but let's just look, see if we get anything from race control in the next couple of seconds. I think we might be. Because of the car I've got to go fast, I think we're going to be waiting just one lap longer, which of course really does feed into the intermediate runners.
Yeah, it helps those Inters guys out, massively, and leading those Inters runners at the moment. It's the only guy on the grid with a penalty. It's Ronhar, and how crucial will that be at the end of the Grand Prix, do you reckon?
Fairly, yes. that's gonna. Oh, here we go. Dark into the pit lane. Obviously, gonna go onto the intermediate tyres, but this is pretty interesting. He's decided now was the right time to do it, and my screen has just gone blue on Dark's on board. That is one of the weirdest glitches I've seen on it. Oh, and he's back. Fantastic. Never seen that one before. So yeah, Dark is coming out. P19, maybe just ahead of Got to Go Fast. This could be quite close, actually. Got to Go Fast maybe has a race on his hands. No, actually, it does seem to be that Dark should have this one by, just a couple of seconds. He is safe. So if Dark left it another lap, I think that definitely would have been it. So, interesting. Viper and Matthew still staying out. And I'd say at this point, it is almost certainly intermediate tyres. A couple of minutes have passed since the safety car came out. And I think at that point, it was definitely still wet tyres. But the people who boxed onto the intermediates anticipating that it was going to get drier have made the right call.
I feel like I should do the lottery a little bit more often because I thought this might happen in qualifying. I mentioned it. I'm waiting for the time for, oh, is this person going to get a penalty? And it happens just like Mexico with Shadow. I'm sure I'm not forgiven for that one either. But Ronha looking like he's made an absolute cracking decision to go on the intermediates. We'll have to wait and see if he has or not. There's a 5-second penalty.
Oh, with Chile. So is that damage for Chile potentially? That's very much possible.
Choco and Chile.
Yeah. Choco and Chile. I think it was Cleanso and Chile, wasn't it?
Cleanso and Chile.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, so is that damage for Chile? I'm not. Yeah. Yeah, so we'll have to see if Chile's picked up some wing damage there. I think it's pretty likely. But anyway, the safety car restart is underway. So let's see what Viper can do on those wet tyres to see if he can hold on for a lap or so.
Look how slow he is going. The safety car's already in the pit lane, and they're not even at the corner yet. Viper's now gone. He's made an incredible getaway, catching a few people out. He's nearly a second in front of Matthew. But let's look a little bit further down. Matthew has not been able to get away from Ronha, and that, I think, is what the Viper's plan was to leave Matthew in a little bit of a daze. There has a little bit of a break between Chandler and Nico as well, so he's caught a few people out, but crucially for Viper, he still leads into turn 2 and holding off the raging intermediate runners at the moment.
Oh, you are though. It looks like Ronha had a little bit more grip than Matthew. He's not going to get the move done under braking. That would be very optimistic. Nowhere near a long enough braking zone, but Ronha pulling to the inside anyway to give Matthew a little bit of a scare in that Mercedes. I tell you what, it's not looking... Oh my god, hang on. This could be it for Ronha. I was about to say, it looks like it's fairly even at the moment, but Ronha has just absolutely dived down the inside of Matthew. He went a little bit deep into the corner on those tyres, seems to be struggling, and yeah, this seems to be a brilliant decision for Ronha, because those intermediates do seem to be struggling, and there's contact!
Contact with Viper, and then Logic hits Ronha as well, just for good measure. That's Logic around, and intermediates definitely seem like the tyre to be on, but there's contact there, and I wonder if there's damage to somehow there's not damage to Ronha's car, and
Agonize and Chile go side by side through the chicane, and they were wheel banging all the way round. And I think Sparks is going to try to make the move on both of them. He's definitely got past Chile. As Square's looking to make a move as well, but Sparks round the outside. Let's see if he can get the move done on Agonize. He's still hanging in there on the outside line. He's going to get a great slingshot now down the first corner. I think that should be it for Sparks, but it's going to be a long run to turn 2.
Just popping a bit higher up because Matthew is trying to attack Viper, surely not a little bit.
Oh, he's gone deep.
Deep from Viper.
Oh, wow. Ronha gets through again.
Oh, no, I thought that was Wilson. Ronha goes, thank you very much. And I think this time Wilson will. And there's a little bit of a weave there from Ronha to Viper. Maybe a little bit of a complaint.
Yeah, I don't think he'd be too happy there.
Chandler on the side of Matthew. There's a little bit of contact between the two of them, and Nico follows through. And just look at this defensive work from.
Oh, went to the wall for Wilson. Wow, what happened there?
I was on board with Viper, so let's.
Yeah.
I'm gonna re-look at.
I'm gonna have to look at the stream there. Yeah.
Because this is.
What happened
crucial.
there? We have another full safety car course.
Another safety car. I think what happened there is Wilson tried to make an attack on Viper, but just
he's tried to pull the dummy a bit, and in the wets tried to do a quick movement back to the right again, and the car's just gone absolutely not. He hasn't got the front grip that you'd normally have, and the rear end not letting him get away with that.
What do you do, Matthew and Viper? Do you pit now? Because I
think they're gonna pit. I can imagine the pit stop here. Yeah. I'd be surprised if they don't. This is their best chance now. Yeah, as Viper comes into pits. Actually, as does Cleanso, so maybe he's picked up some damage, potentially. We'll have to see. As Matthew does as well. Oh, no, Matthew's going to have to wait behind Cleanso as well now.
Oh, that Cleanso is he got a 3-second penalty as well? A 5-second penalty for Cleanso to serve.
Yeah.
And Matthew...
Oh, he was trying to serve it to get out of the way. Oh no, held up his teammate too. That's a bit rough. Let's hope they're not in a party for that one.
I can imagine that one being a little bit frosty later on, but look at this. Agonized up 14, Nico up 11, Chile up 10, Ferrari curse hasn't hit him yet, but I may have spoken a bit too soon. Critch leading the way in first place. He has been incredible for pace in these wet conditions. That is crazy. Viper now back down to 17th place. I honestly just thought the safety car sideswiped Critch then on my screen, but thankfully in safe hands. But what went on there? That was a crazy few laps. Ronha, Critch, everyone, Chandler, all making crucial moves to get through, and obviously Ronha having a little bit of a coming together with Viper, but then made an incredible overtake round the outside of 13 or inside of 13, inside of 3 and the outside of 4 to dispatch the 2 wet runs.
Yeah, that was some pretty dramatic stuff in the last couple of laps. I think it's fair to say. I think the stewards might have something to say on a couple of those at least. There's a bit of wheel banging a few times. So nothing too serious, to be fair. The actual contacts itself, Ronha as well, and Viper. I think Viper was braking a little bit earlier because of course he's got less grip. Ronha taking the same wide line. I think it just went a little bit wrong there. Shadow and Choco. Oh, okay, I was confused then. It said Shadow. Shadow? What am I about Shadow? Logic and Choco. So I'm used to Alfa Romeo. So they were overtaking each other, but Logic comes into the pits now. So let's see if he's going to fit a new front wing. No, he's serving a 5-second time penalty, I imagine. Yes, he is. So that's Logic's 5-second time penalty out the way. A bit like what Clenzo did earlier.
Now, we know wets and inters go that little bit longer than the dries. If it is wet until the end of the race, will these inters go to the end? Or is it going to be a really tough ask?
I think from this point they should be able to. It's not going to be the nicest drive in the world, but I think from this point they should be able to go to the end, I imagine.
We'll have to wait and see. Obviously, we saw Viper's safety car restart. We'll see what Logic can do, whether he can get to the back of this quickly enough for the safety car to come in this lap. But you know, was that too early? Because Viper held him up that grid really early.
Yeah.
Do you think that was a good for this track? Is that the best place to do it?
I mean, it depends if you can catch a car behind napping. It's a little bit risky. Because let's say Critch tries that in just a moment's time, but Ronha is very alert and goes right with him, which we're about to find out in about 30 seconds or so. It does mean that then the car behind you has the whole of the straight for slipstream. But if you can get far enough ahead, you're safe anyway. So let's see what route Critch goes with this. He's definitely going a lot quicker at the moment because that safety car is still going around the final corner.
Yeah, so interesting strat from Critch. And he now, Ronha nearly goes into the back of him. That's got to be the problematic. I mean, Sparks for me is going, well, headbanging, but Ronha has a great getaway. Critch has not done this safety car restart as well as he could have done. Maybe he's got the straight line speed over his rival though, but he's got the inside line coming into turn 2, and he holds on just for now. Off the track is Chandler.
Yeah, he broke way too late for corner. I don't know if there's a little bit of contact on entry or what. I just saw McLaren flying through the gravel trap as he's now under pressure from square behind. Well, not anymore. Side by side and into P5 he goes. Chandler able to keep agonised behind, but into the gravel as well was Alfie. A big snap of oversteer mid-corner, dropping down into P11. And it is absolute carnage. Side by side, 2x2 there.
I think there was a little bit of contact between Chandler and Alfie, which caused that understeer on Alfie, unfortunately, or oversteer, I should say. But Square, what a move! How he managed to make that car brake in time for turn number 5 is beyond me. Great control, and just ahead of all this, look how there's a little break between Chandler and Square. Could be crucial come to the end of the race. Chico and Chili and Alfie looking very, very close, and Dark Killer. Excuse me, sorry. I haven't spoken about him pretty much all race since, but he's down in 13th at the moment, trying to get past Placky.
Yeah, trying to move his way up the field. Hasn't been the cleanest race so far for himself, but he's trying to make the best of it. Oh, well, as I say that, he rams into the back of Placky, who was a little bit slow mid-corner there. Dark able to carry a little bit more speed. I'm going to stop commenting on how clean drivers' races are, because evidently they're just going to plough into the back of the car ahead as Square goes ahead of Nico down into turn 2 as we enter the chicane. So Square up into P4, maybe got a little bit of pace in that AlphaTauri.
Yeah, maybe it's very dry setup for him, and obviously with the tyres and the situation going more to the dry way, obviously it's still raining out there, it could just be coming to settle for him a little bit. Alfie and Chili battling away. Trivion, I've got to go fast, battling away as well. And look at that in the background. I might go on board with Alfie as he's trying to get past the Ferrari. Up the inside, does he make the move in time? He does just indeed for the Alpine driver, and another recovery drive for Alfie. Wilson's left the session after his unfortunate incident early on, and he is the only driver to have DNF'd at the moment. But look at Square pretty much pushing Sparks along, and it does look like Sparks is having a little DJ session in his car at the moment.
Oh,
Sparks pushes him out wide. And Nico...
Sparks still has his ERS on. Square, sorry. Yeah, there we go. He turns it off. I was going to say, if he exits the corner full throttle with the ERS on, that in the wet, that could prove to be a little bit challenging. But maybe Nico going to give it a go. We'll have to see. I think Square has recovered pretty well with some use of ERS. Chandler only down in P6 at the moment, so he can still move forward and try to reclaim that P3. But it's going to be a hard bit of work.
Yeah, look at all what is going on. Ronhar and Critch, it's the battle we had before all the the two safety cars we had are back at it again. However, it's the other way around this time, and I mentioned that those two were going to trade fastest laps, and I think that is going to continue throughout. Square has to compose himself and really battle himself back at Sparks now. I think he went for a move a bit too early, and Sparks went, no, you're not getting that place.
No, at the moment, Sparks are putting an adamant defence, but he's running a little bit wide through the corner there. Maybe this could slightly tarnish his exit. Maybe Square can give it a go. He's gone purple in Sector 2, Square has, so he's definitely got the pace in that car. Ronhar's starting to apply a little bit of pressure to Critch, but here we go. Square, with actually quite a lot of ease, gets past Sparks there. I don't know if that was Sparks is letting him go. It really didn't look like Sparks could put much of a fight there, and I'm fairly sure he lifted as well. Yeah,
I think he realised that Square isn't his battle. Pick your battles, and just up ahead you see Ronhar getting close to Critch again. Fastest man on the track is Ronhar after Critch doing the fastest lap. Square doesn't max it, but Alfie does. So down in 10th place, Alfie really trying. There's a yellow flag. Oh, that's
Logic. Oh no, it's not gone well for Logic today. Into the pits he comes again.
That could be a retirement for him. Just thinking about it. But with the amount of safety cars we've had, 2 already, and we're only just at halfway distance, it might not be beneficial for him to throw the towel in just yet. Anything is possible.
No. Safety car at some point.
Square has gone purple in Sector 1. He's really trying to catch the front runners. I think he's got the overall pace to do it as well.
Yeah, at the moment he is really reeling them in, and maybe Ronhar struggling a little bit behind Critch, but we did see that Critch, when behind Ronhar, definitely has the pace as well, so I don't think there's a lot to separate these two guys at the moment, but Square looking to be the one who can set the pace as Trivian picks up a 3-second time penalty as well.
Connor up into 7th place with Agonised there, just behind, getting close, but nothing to it. Choco then in 9th place, he's doing quite a solid race as well, with Alfie just behind. So there is, just behind Chandler, a little train forming as Connor getting a little bit impatient behind the McLaren and desperately trying to make an overtake.
Yeah, at the moment it's looking that way. Okay, there we go. So Square, fastest lap. That will surprise nobody. He's really starting to close in at the moment. Connor closing in on Chandler as well. We said maybe Chandler could recover, but at the moment it looks like he's more likely to lose out to Connor, who's closing and closing ever more. With Agonised right behind as well, and Choco just a little bit further back, but still very much in with a shout. Alfie, a massive snap oversteer on the X. Actually, it was more drifting around the corner, but he's able to save it and keep the car pointing in the right direction. Chili right behind himself as well. Maybe Chili in P11 could be on to score some more points today. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I wonder when this dry is going to kick in. It's still raining, and that is going to be the huge point of it all. When the dry starts to kick in, we are led to believe, I think, Ronha is on a dry setup as Nico picks up a 3-second time penalty in 5th place. That's not what he would have wanted, as Chandler is starting to make inroads back into an attack on the Aston Martin driver. He's dropping away from Sparks, not at a rate of knots, but not a rate that he would like.
No, Nico has been struggling a little bit more today, just for the raw pace itself. But now Chandler looks like, well, he's definitely a lot closer to him. Maybe Nico made a little bit of a mistake because Chandler has closed in quite a bit. So you never know. It could have been just running deep somewhere from Nico. Small mistake. But his actual general race pace seems all right. Just needs to iron out the mistakes. And actually, I mean, is he slowing down to let all these guys past? I'm not entirely sure there, but that very much looked like just letting Chandler pass. I mean, I know Chandler was using ERS, but that seemed like a lot of speed gained.
That was like the DRS was open for Chandler there. But no, it wasn't. But it looked very much like it. Chandler up into P5 then. Now his job is to chase Sparks, and there's a 2.1 second gap between the two of them. Square is 1.3 behind.
Oversteer from Connor, and that is Agonized diving down the inside. Alfie's also side by side with Choco just behind. And in the end, I think we've ended up with no changes in position somehow there. But it definitely looks like Agonized, if Connor makes another mistake like that, Agonized is going to be there to pounce on it. Same story goes for Alfie, who really wants to get past that Alfa Romeo ahead.
Chandler picks up a 3-second penalty as well. So both Alfie and Agonized desperate for a move. And it looks like at the moment, Alfie might be the one that makes it. He's got to be a little bit patient though. I know there is plenty of race to go, but he's pretty much pushing the Alpha Tauri through turns 14 and 15 there. But nothing to it at the moment. And if these two start to battle away, they'll lose ground to the guys ahead and get caught up with by Chili, Placky and Dark Killer.
Yeah, it seems to be once drivers get past Nico, they're able to start closing it on the battling Critch and Ronha ahead as well. So you never know. Hopefully we could end up with a five-way fight for the win. That would be quite fun. I don't think there's really enough laps to give that a proper go. Maybe another safety car, we could be in that situation. But oh, there we go, right behind Agonized, just running a little bit wider than Connor was. This is brilliant stuff, to be fair. The driver's keeping it on the track and fairly consistently as well, because these are really tricky conditions. Agonized taking so much speed through the chicane than Connor, but it's just not at the right places to be able to make a move anyway. I think same thing for Alfie, really. He's right on the back, but just cannot get past at the moment.
Yeah, I think Nico could very well be the plug that's holding everything back at the moment, but he's got enough straight line speed to hold Connor and co behind as Chandler's starting to pull away a little bit. But look at Alfie desperately trying to find some way past the Alfa Romeo in front of him. And there was a penalty there, I believe, for Square. So, Critch is in a really, really good way.
Yeah, I think Critch might be smiling right now. Oh, what's on that?
Mistake from Choco, and I think this is Alfie's chance.
Yeah.
Look at this, up the outside of 16, inside of 17. He's surely got the position, and now he can have a go at, well, his WOR compadres in Agonized and Connor and Nico. So there's 3 of them there, and Square has passed Ronha.
Ooh, now that's pretty big. Square getting the move done, even, well, actually into turn 1. That's not many times we're going to be able to say that this race, as we come into the real first corner at turn 2, really. But yeah, Square getting that move done, and now he's going to chase down Critch. And the big question is, if he can get past Critch, can he pull out a 3-second gap? Critch is only on 1 warning, so not a massive risk for a penalty, unless the last 12 laps don't go particularly well for him.
Well, Sparks, considering he had a few issues, is keeping with these guys, and there's Chandler pulling a little bit in as well. So it's good, bad news for Square and Ronha if they can't get past Critch and build a gap, because 3 seconds is going to drop him a fair whack behind. And looking at Alfie trying to make a move again. Let's go back on board with that, because that battle for this midfield pack is absolutely intense.
It really is the most. It's a train of cars all follow each other, and a dive bomb could come from anywhere, really. They're just weaving down the straight, all trying to follow each other. Slipstream as Viper gets moved on Tribune. They're still side by side, and Tribune cutting right across that McLaren nose. And I don't think he's picked up any damage there, which is quite a surprise. But Viper trying to get the move done, not quite able to, with Tribune a very stern defence.
Tribune, who's had such a great qualifying, down into 14th place, unfortunately for him. Just desperate to keep hold of any positions. Ronha is dropping away. I wonder if there's damage to that Red Bull. I'll go on board with it in a minute if Agonised doesn't make a move, and Alfie doesn't look like he is. But let's go on board with that Red Bull. It doesn't seem as quick as it was earlier on.
No, but also looking at the front wing, there's no visible damage. Yeah, there's definitely no visible damage. So, I mean, I don't know what this issue could be for Ron Harvey. So maybe he was running a bit more of a dry setup and just, struggling in the wet now. But he's definitely lost a lot of pace pretty quickly. So, yeah, maybe he has got some light wing damage. He's just clipped back of Critch somewhere. But yeah, seems to be definitely losing out at the moment. But also, it seems like Critch and Square have just sped up. Because really, the gap between Sparks and Ronha hasn't gone down much, and the gap between Chandler and Sparks hasn't gone down too much either. So I think it could be a case of Square and Critch just really upping the ante, as Choco and Alfie are still going at it. And Alfie forced to the outside line. He's never going to make the corner there. No, he backs out of it because that could have been pretty disastrous. But Chile is now got alongside to that Alpine of Alfie. Just ahead of him, he's going to be forced on the outside line as well. Actually, comes the inside line through the next corner now under braking. Alfie turns in early, gets a little bit of contact on the Ferrari, a little bit of wheel banging. But that is brilliant stuff from Chile as it's now his turn. But the cutback and a brilliant exit for Alfie. He's got Chile, and now potentially he's going to have Choco as well.
What a switch back there from Alfie. But I don't think there's going to be enough room for them to go side by side into turn 2. And surely Alfie's not going to hold it in. Oh, there is contact and he's around. And Alfie is down to 15th. He's dropping like a stone. But crucially for all that, Choco is now 3 seconds behind Agonised. And that has given them probably a little bit of respite. And so they can concentrate on attacking Nico ahead. I'm sure Agonised is getting rather frustrated that he can't have a pop at Nico properly. Or Nico hold up Connor enough.
The RS enabled, we're into dry conditions now, so we're going to see drivers coming in for a set of dry tyres this lap, I'd imagine. And we haven't got throughout the grid a lot of situations, maybe with the Aston Martins, where the teammates are actually too close to each other. So maybe the dubstep might not be too much of issues. Chili gets past Choco, and Clenzo gets past Viper as well. Actually, I don't know if that might have just been a little bit of lag on my end, actually, because it seems like they're miles ahead of the car behind. So not entirely sure what happened there.
So, does anyone pit? Let's go on board. Here they come. I didn't even notice it stopped raining, to be honest, because it still looked like it was raining. But everyone popping into the pits, and I think Agonised is going to lose out massively here.
Yeah, he's coming in anyway. He's going to lose quite a few places. But it's probably less than if he'd carried on for another lap. So I think fair play in this situation. He may be all the way pit lap 4. I've got that weird glitch again with Critch now, so that's fun. I've just got a blue screen when I try to go on board with him in the pits. But Critch is still leading. I can't ride on board with him, but I promise he is leading as he comes on the exit of the pits now. So Square up into P2, Ronhart up into P3 as well. Now it's a final sprint on those soft tyres for the last 10 laps of this race.
Let's see how it all pans out then, shall we? Square 1.1 behind Critch and Ronhar just behind that. We saw how quick Ronhar was on dry pace with the DRS enabled and everything else to his advantage. I wonder how quick he's going to be. Sparks there as well, and look at that. Poor Agonised down into 13th place. It's not what he would have wanted, and that has just compounded his misery. What an unfortunate race it's been for him. But at the moment, Sparks is on for a really, really good finish because of the penalties of other drivers.
Well, yeah, he's looking at a P2 at the moment, which is not too bad at all. I think maybe Square or Ronhar might be able to put out a 3-second gap. I think more likely Square if that does happen. But yeah, as long as he can stay within 3 seconds of Ronhar, he's in for a podium finish at the moment. So, especially given Chandler and Nico both have penalties too.
Yeah, I can't see Connor. Connor's now 3.2 behind Nico. I don't know what's happened there because they were...
Maybe held in the pits.
Must have been, but look at the overspeed from Square already around Critch and into the lead. Will Critch go back at him? I don't think he will. I think Square can run away with this at this point. He has just managed to turn it on and get some incredible pace out of this car, and he's looking on fire.
Yeah, well, there was that DRS we've been missing all race as Choco makes a move very easily on Chile as well. It was hard fought from Chile to get the place, but Choco using DRS breezes right past the Ferrari, who does not have access to it. But he will next time round, probably. So let's see if Chile can put the fight back. Same with Critch, really. If he can stay within, let's say, 7/10 or so, he might be able to apply a little bit of pressure down the main straight. It's not necessarily over yet, and even then, Critch just has to stay within 3 seconds of that AlphaTauri.
Connor picking up a penalty there, and Logic, the fastest man on the track. Kind of expected, really, seeing as he was on the softs a little bit earlier. Choco making a little bit of a mistake, and here comes the penalties a little bit more. Drivers being a little bit more aggressive in their turning, and I think this could be where it all goes a little bit south for some of these drivers. Choco managing to pull away from Chile. I thought that might
Square has no ERS to defend with at all, whereas Critch has a good 40%. Critch isn't using it though. I really think Critch could have regained the lead here. He's not going to be close enough, but I really genuinely think if he used ERS there, he'd have been back in the lead. But potentially is this a situation where Critch maybe knows Square hasn't got too much to play with. And if he can just sit behind for a couple of laps, just stay within DRS, he can put a push on right at the end. But you have to bear in mind, he doesn't need to win this on track. It's not be-all, end-all. Just a nice bonus if he can.
There's a penalty for Tribion as well. And look at that. 9 seconds for Agonize, 6 seconds for both Logic and Tribion. Penalties really racking up. Critch has just got to be careful now. He's just keep with it, do everything he needs to. And, you know, Critch has got this race in the bag. There goes Chandler.
We have a yellow flag as well. Is that for Logic coming into pit lane?
I think it is.
He's retired, yes, it was.
Such a shame for Logic. It's just not what could have been for Logic. And I'm sure Shadow would have wanted him to be near the top to hold up Ronha. But it's down to Sparks now to make sure he finishes ahead of Ronha. But if any of these guys gets a penalty, it throws another spanner in the works.
Yeah, it seems to be at the moment. Well, we have to wait and see. Obviously, Critch, the worst thing that can happen now is him pick up a penalty, because then he's potentially under threat for P3 if Ron Hagen just close in a couple more attempts. And there's Logic's AI coming out of the pit lane. That's going to put a bit of a fright into... Oh, I don't like that. Sparks driving through the AI at full speed, not visibly ghosting either. That was not too fun. That could have gone pretty wrong if the game decided it didn't want to ghost at that point, as Cleanso gets a move done on Placky as Tribion dives up the inside of Agonize, pushing him wide at the second part of the chicane. Agonize come back on track and then just clipping Tribion slightly, but here Tribion does get the move done nonetheless, as now Viper, always a big mistake from Agonize, into the gravel and just about able to hold the car, and Viper in the McLaren works his way through.
So Viper up into 14th place, Agonize down to 15th. And that poor Aston Martin has really suffered over the last 5-6 laps with the weather. And look how sunny it is now. It has really, really changed weather. We're definitely not going to see any more rain if that's the case. And lap 26 and 32, we've lost 2 drivers. Logic and Wilson are out of this Grand Prix. Wilson careering into the wall while Logic just decided to retire the car. He wasn't going to get anything from it today. But Choco all over the back of Connor now. So Choco looks like he's got some good dry pace here. Oh, as I will go on board with Critch as he's getting very,
he's
very
closing
close.
in so much down into turn 2, but not able to hit Square. Genuinely has no ERS to play with. It's lap after lap now. He's needing to use every single bit of energy that he can harvest over the course of the lap to keep the Williams behind. This could get pretty good. Oh yeah, what's going on?
Choco makes a nice move around the outside of turn 1 proper, or fake turn 1.
Chile's got a bit of speed as well. No, not quite.
Yeah, this is the battle for P7 is really, really interesting. It's taken over from the battle for P6 that we had in the intermediate conditions. I'm desperate to go on board back to the leaders, but these guys not giving me the opportunity. As Dark Killer, desperately trying to push, literally drive through the Ferrari to gain the place, I think.
Yeah, at the moment it looks to be that. I'm going to have to head over to Critch. I'll keep an eye on that and give you a shout if it looks like anything's going to happen. But yeah, going on behind, it's an absolutely brilliant battle. What's going on?
Connor's gone. Connor's left the session.
Ooh.
And it's now got both drivers. It's kind of shook Chile up a little bit, which allowed Dark to have a little look. But I think Dark realised the situation and admirably held off, but he's not going to hold off this time. Around the outside on the start-finish straight, and he's past Chile and into P8, and now he's got Choco for his next target.
Yeah, and Critch was again closing in, but not quite close enough. He just needs to be another couple of car lengths, maybe a car length and a half further forward to be able to send it up the inside. And he's sort of struggling to get there at the moment, but we're still in the same situation. Square, no ERS at all to play with. He's just using it whenever he gets a single % at the moment. Because obviously the most important thing is he can pull out as much of a gap as possible. What's going on? There's a yellow flag, and that's an Aston Martin of Agonised as well. So a bad day in the office, getting a little bit worse.
Agonised retiring from the session. He, from fighting for possible podiums, he's out.
Critch is a lot closer here as well. I think this could be it for Critch. He's a good 2 tenths closer away. He has been at this point a lap on the previous few laps. If he can get a good exit, this could be it. He's only got half a second to make up on this long straight in the run up to turn 2. Let's see if DRS is enough. He's not using his ERS, which is interesting. Does he think he even needs to use his ERS? Because he actually turned off his DRS there. Ooh. I think he's deliberately not gone for the move. He's turned off his DRS.
I think he's saving the ERS a little bit. I think it's like you said a few laps ago. He's waiting for the opportune moment to really go for square. He doesn't need to take...
No, he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to go for the risk. Oh, Tribbian diving up the inside there. That was absolutely brilliant stuff against Placky. As Clenzo just got right past, and then Tribbian basically follows through. Oh, and there we go. Viper and McLaren on the inside, giving it a go. He's going to be forced around the outside line. That's not going to work this time out.
No, it's not. Let's go back to then battle for P7 as Sparks is only 1.5 seconds behind Ronhar. So Chandler's definitely not going to get himself into the podium places with things as they stand, but Ronhar is going to be desperate for Sparks to pick up a penalty. Clenzo and Connor, I think that is his AI, so that's nothing to worry about. But Chile, fair play to the Ferrari driver. The Ferrari curse is definitely not on him, and he's having a great race.
Yeah, at the moment, Chile looking to pick up some pretty good points, and definitely there's still some place he can move further forward when these penalties are all applied. Critch is not going to be close enough to square this time out. He's closing and closing and closing, but just a couple of 100 metres too short is the straight. Ronhar in a pretty quiet race at the moment, but he is set to drop down into P4. So I think if you're Shadow, you're not, it's not too bad, is it? As Dark gets past Choco down the main straight.
Yeah, that was close as well. Dark Killer had to go to the grass to get it done. Choco was defending like an absolute, demon to keep a hold of the position, but it just wasn't there. Elbows out, but it wasn't happening for Choco, unfortunately. Chile's just watching the action as we'll stay on board with this one for a little bit longer as Placky has been passed by Viper now. There's a yellow flag, and that has got to go fast, retiring from the session. We're not going to have what we had last week, are we? A very, very late safety car.
No, it does seem to be that way as got to go fast out of the race. No safety car, of course, so getting away with that one. But yeah, here we go. Still, we've got only a couple more goes for Critch to try to make the move on square. Like we say, he doesn't need to make the move, but winning on track is always that little bit sweeter. You can give it the weave across the line. So Critch, again, he'll be closing ever more, but not quite there potentially. He's closing actually quite a bit quickly, has been the last few laps, but we're starting from a slightly further base backwards. So Clenzo pick up another 3-second time penalty for his effort. He's not had a bad race today for new pedals. I think he said he's only been on them for 2 days, so to get P10, obviously it might not end that way with penalties, but he's done a pretty good job.
And Choco retakes the position from Dark for P7. Obviously these two battling through, and there was a little bit of a weave or a back end loss of grip for Dark Killer there. We're not expecting to see tyres really lose it, but he has really lost it on that occasion, and Dark Killer down to P9, really struggling now, and that penalty obviously might cause further mishaps. Trivion down to 13th and Viper into 11th, so Viper still in with a shout for points here, but it would be a miss of me not to go to this one as Critch nearly a second behind Square now, so he's might not be able to attack Square on the last lap, which is what he was expecting down the start-finish straight. He's got to deploy everything at this point, surely, but Square somehow has found some pace.
Yeah, he's giving it a go. Square down to 0% ERS already. But this time, Critch has now joined him. So I think if Square can hold on now, that should be it. And Square does keep the lead down into turn 2. Through the chicane, but he's made a massive mistake there. Big step over it onto the grass. And I have absolutely cursed it. And wow, look at that. Critch has actually slowed down to let Square take the win on track. So I think Critch very happy to leave that one. Matthew has just had a trip into the gravel as well. That had been a very dramatic end, but Critch deciding, I think, to be a little bit nice and spare his NRX teammate.
Very, very gentlemanly there for Critch, but there's Chili having a go at Choco, but it wasn't happening. So, but with the penalties around, I don't think Choco's going to catch Nico. We will quickly have a look at that. He might actually. That is some big points. Matthew struggling massively and now out of the race. But let's go back on board with the leaders as they come through into Sector 3. Square is going to win it on track, but he's not going to win it overall. But Sparks, is he going to be lucky enough to... No, he's not. He's far too far back.
Quite, yeah.
So Sparks will take a podium, but it will be third place away from Ronha. But I think overall Ronha will be happy, but Square takes it on over the line. But Critch will win this Grand Prix. Square actually
able to hold on. Yeah, so was that... Did he pick up another penalty somewhere that we just managed to miss? Or he did. He had 2 penalties apparently, so he must have picked up a second. And Ronha only had 1, didn't he? So...
But how did Square not... Yes, Sparks not get ahead of him?
I have no idea. With a 6-second penalty... Well, apparently it was only by 6... No, but Sparks wasn't 6 seconds behind. That's weird.
Square got driver of the day, according to the game.
That makes no sense at all. That must be a timing glitch or something, I don't know.
We've got to have experienced the timing glitch. We can only apologise for commanders, Codemasters. They are not the commanders of this. But, I mean, do you agree with driver of the day from the game? Because Square had a really good race, but there were some other great ones in there as well.
Yeah, I think personally... I think you've got to go with Critch, because, okay, look, Square came from P14, that was a really great drive, but Critch, fantastic start. He was able to just make the most of the battling cars. He got a great launch initially anyway, then found himself up into P2, then was able to get into the lead, and did a really, really good job today. And at the end of the day, didn't pick up any penalties either. I think for me, it's got to go with Critch. I
agree with that one. Critch has had that move at the start as well, to dispatch 2 of those drivers with relative ease. I think is up there with some of the best we've seen today. Obviously, Ronha pulled some moves out as well, and Viper when he was fighting through the field. So we've seen an awful lot here. We believe it's a timing glitch, so we're not 100% sure what is going on. I won't run down the full order, but I think there's some working out for the stewards to do, but it should be, in my mind, Critch, Sparks, Ronha?
It should... Critch... So... Yeah, Critch, Sparks, Ronha, Square, I imagine. Then... Well, how's Chandler stayed ahead of Choco? I don't think there was that big a gap, was there? I really don't know. I think that's one for the stewards to look at.
I think there might have been, but yeah, it's not our job, it's the steward's job. What a crazy race though. From qualifying being a bit messed up, I really enjoyed that one. I'm not sure about yourself. It was
great.
Imola, always a great one to get through. We might even have some podium questions.
Oh, there is a Sparks. We have a Sparks.
He's going to spark it up. No, I can't believe I
no, we're not using that. So you're still proud of the agonised one from earlier. We're not having another.
That was agonisingly bad. So shall we get Sparks in straight away because he's waiting?
Yeah, may as well. Yeah, I think he's the only one there. So we'll bring him in.
Let's bring him in, and Sparks, congratulations. I mean, from what I saw in the chat, you weren't really enjoying the track, and you weren't really knowing where it was all going to go. But in the end, a great race.
Yeah, it was. I didn't expect to get P. It should be P2 with a timing glitch, but
yeah.
God, I didn't expect to score points today. I didn't. I'd be honest, I didn't really turn up with much practice to this week because I didn't really enjoy Imola, and then I made a mistake on my setup, which meant I was running 95% brake pressure for the whole race. So
Right.
I really wasn't expecting anything, and then just everyone else crashing around me, and again, like Canada, not getting penalties working out for me and getting P2. So I'm really happy with that result, to be honest. To say the circumstances like that was happening before the race. So amazing drive from Crutch as well. Amazing win for them.
So would you? Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah. So would you say that maybe with a lack of practice, potentially a wet race really did sort of come to your safety today?
Yes, definitely did. But no doubt about it. I think if it was a dry race, I was never ever getting inside the top 10. And a bit of luck saved me, really.
Yeah.
Beacon, do you want to continue? I'm going to think of a difficult question towards the end.
Yes, you got a difficult one. Yes, okay. Yeah, but just in general, what was sort of the biggest challenges with the strategy today? Were you pretty happy with how your strategy played out?
Yeah, I'm really happy, and in the championship, it's good as well because, of course, Shadow's a good mate of mine, so I'm glad that I've managed to take points off Ronhar, and hopefully Shadow can come back and, hopefully get more points on Ronhar. But yeah, I'm happy with how my race went, definitely, for sure.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely should be. It's a brilliant drive. So just interested as well, would you say, obviously to an extent you want to get as many points as possible. Through the last few races, is it a possibility that you're going to lend a bit of a hand to Shadow here?
Well, we'll wait and see.
Yeah.
Well, it kind of leads me on to the question I wanted to ask. Obviously, Ronhar now retakes the championship lead out through this. These two have been going on hammer and tongs all season. You were there in the early days as well. I asked Beacon earlier on. He couldn't give me an answer. Who is this now advantage Ronhar because of that points advantage that he's now got with Shadow not racing?
Well, I mean, Jedda's a new track, so we don't know who's faster. So it's just going to be about who can learn the track quicker and, get more points out of Jeddah. So, depending who does well at Jeddah, I think if Shadow can get a lot more points than Ronhar in Jeddah, then I think he's definitely got a chance going into Brazil. But, I think if Ronhar outscores Shadow in Jeddah, then, I think it's going to be definitely a massive advantage going into Sao Paulo.
And I guess, lastly for me, how have you found this season? Obviously, you missed that middle bit of the season, but have you? Obviously, you've enjoyed it because you've come back. But overall, what's really been your highlight this season?
I mean, I've had a lot of highlights this season because, to be honest, I did not expect to be up where I was this season. I think this game, I've found a lot more confidence than what I was last year. And of course, I took a bit of a break I just took a bit of a break from F1 in general. But, I've been asked to come back as reserve driver. So, I might as well take that opportunity. And, if I get good results, then, that's an extra boost to how good my season's been so far. So, yeah, I'm happy as well. Also fighting for third in the championship as well. I'm happy with that.
I mean, you come back absolutely incredibly strong. You're possibly even stronger than you were when you came back. But Beacon, anything else for Sparks?
No, I think we've just about covered that.
Fair enough. Well, thank you very much for popping in, and it's great to have podium questions. So, Sparks, thank you very much, and good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Now, Beacon, let's round this one up. I'm not sure how we can, but what an incredible race we've had. Literally everything thrown at us, and somehow we managed to survive it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a brilliant race, as ever, a bit of heavy rain really shaking up the race and just opened up for the possibility of so many more moves and mistakes from drivers at any moment. And I think the leaders right out up front did a brilliant job today. And I think, as we're sort of rounding off, as ever, a massive thank you to everyone for sticking with us in the stream. And a big thank you, as ever, to all of the drivers putting on I want to say, as ever again, a brilliant show because it's becoming quite a habit.
It definitely has here in WOR. We've had an incredible amount of action on track at Imola. It's going to continue all week long at WOR, so keep on the Twitter to see all the highlights of the race and everything, all the juicy bits of information that is going to come through the rest of the week as well. But from Beacon and I, it's been an absolute phenomenal race, and we have we have really enjoyed it, and we thank you for watching. Timing glitches messed it up a little bit at the end, unfortunately, but it wasn't Sparks that lit the way. It was Critch. What an incredible race we've had, and we really, really look forward to Jeddah next week. Goodbye.